The storm came without warning that night. Dark clouds covered the 2 moons of Varus 7, and rain fell hard on the dusty ground. Yuna stood at the window of her small clinic, watching the lightning dance across the empty plains. It had been a long day. 3 miners, with broken bones. A child with fever. An old woman who just needed someone to talk to. Yuna had treated them all, as she always did, asking for only what they could pay. Most times, that meant nothing at all. She was about to turn off the lights when she saw something move outside. A shape, crawling through the mud toward her door. Yuna grabbed her coat and ran out into the rain. The figure was a woman. Tall, much taller than any human, with skin pale as moonlight and hair the color of fresh snow. Strange dark blood flowed from deep cuts across her body. Her clothes were torn and burned, like she had walked through fire to get here. Yuna did not hesitate. She grabbed the woman under her arms and pulled her toward the clinic. The stranger was heavy, far heavier than she looked, but Yuna did not stop. She dragged her through the door and onto the medical table. The woman's eyes opened. They were silver, bright like stars, and filled with pain. She grabbed Yuna's wrist with surprising strength. "Please," the woman whispered in broken words. "Tell no one. No one must know I am here." Yuna looked at those desperate eyes. She did not know this woman. She did not know her species. She did not know what trouble followed her. But she saw fear, and she saw pain. And that was enough. "I won't tell anyone," Yuna said softly. "Now, let me help you." The woman's grip loosened, and her eyes closed again. Yuna worked through the night. The wounds were bad, worse than anything she had seen before. Deep cuts that reached the bone, burns that covered half her back, and something else, something like poison spreading through her veins, turning them black under her pale skin. Nothing in Yuna's medical books matched this woman's body. Her blood was darker than human blood. Her heart beat in a strange rhythm. Her bones felt harder than steel when Yuna touched them, but Yuna did not let confusion stop her. She cleaned each wound carefully. She stitched what she could stitch. She wrapped what she could wrap. She did everything her training had taught her, and when that was not enough, she trusted her instincts. Hours passed. The storm continued outside, thunder shaking the walls of the small clinic. Yuna's hands grew tired, but she did not rest. She stayed beside the strange woman, checking her breathing, watching for signs of danger. Near dawn, the woman woke again. Her silver eyes found Yuna, who sat in a chair beside the table, exhausted but still watching. "You stayed," the woman said. Her voice was weak but clear. "Of course I stayed," Yuna replied. "You're my patient." The woman stared at her for a long moment. There was something in her gaze that Yuna did not understand. Surprise, perhaps, or confusion, like she had expected something different. "What is your name?" the woman asked. "Yuna. What's yours?" The woman was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Rin. You may call me Rin." Yuna nodded. She knew it was not her real name. She could see the hesitation in those silver eyes, but she did not push. Everyone had secrets. Everyone had reasons for hiding. "Well, Rin," Yuna said, standing up slowly. "You need to rest. Your wounds are bad, but I think you'll live. You're stronger than you look." A small smile touched Rin's lips. "You have no idea," she whispered, so quietly that Yuna almost missed it. Yuna brought water and helped Rin drink. She checked the bandages one more time, making sure no blood was seeping through. Then, she pulled a blanket over the tall woman and dimmed the lights. "Sleep now," Yuna said. "I'll be here if you need anything." Rin's eyes followed her as she moved to the other side of the room. There was something strange in that gaze, something heavy, like Rin was seeing Yuna for the first time and did not quite know what to make of her. "Why?" Rin asked suddenly. Yuna turned back. "Why what? Why did you help me? You do not know me. You do not know what I am. I could be dangerous. I could be your enemy." Yet you dragged me from the mud and spent your nights saving my life. Rin's voice was careful, like she was trying to solve a puzzle she did not understand. Why? Yuna thought about the question. She thought about all the patients she had treated over the years. The miners, who could not pay. The refugees, who had nowhere else to go. The criminals who everyone else turned away. She had helped them all, never asking who they were or what they had done. Because you needed help, Yuna said simply. That's enough reason for me. Rin stared at her. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she closed her eyes, and something in her expression softened. Strange, Rin murmured. You humans are very strange. Yuna smiled. Get some rest, Rin. We can talk more tomorrow. She sat back in her chair and watched the strange woman sleep. Outside, the storm finally began to fade. The first light of morning crept through the windows, painting the clinic in soft gold. Yuna did not know who Rin really was. She did not know that the woman on her table commanded the largest military force in the galaxy. She did not know that those pale hands had destroyed entire fleets, that those silver eyes had watched civilizations rise and fall. She only knew that someone had needed help, and she had given it. And sometimes, that simple act of kindness could change everything. 5 days passed, and Rin healed faster than any patient Yuna had ever seen. Wounds that should have taken months to close were already becoming scars. The black poison in her veins was fading, pushed out by a body that seemed to reject weakness itself. Yuna noticed everything but said nothing. She simply changed the bandages, checked the healing skin, and pretended that this was all perfectly normal. Rin watched her constantly. At first, Yuna thought it was suspicion. But slowly, she realized it was something else. Curiosity. Fascination. Like Rin had never seen anyone quite like her before. You had 12 patients today, Rin said one evening, as Yuna cleaned her medical tools. Yuna nodded. Busy day. 7 of them did not pay. They couldn't afford to. Yet you treated them anyway. Rin tilted her head, her silver eyes searching Yuna's face. Why do you give so much and ask for so little? Yuna shrugged. They needed help. I had the skills to help. What else should I do? Watch them suffer because they're poor? Rin was silent for a long moment. Among my people, she said slowly, power is everything. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die. That is the way of the universe. Sounds lonely, Yuna said. Rin blinked. Lonely? If everyone only cares about power, who do you trust? Who do you turn to when you're hurt or scared? Yuna put down her tools and looked at Rin directly. Power might keep you alive, but it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't give you peace. Rin had no answer. She looked away, her expression unreadable. Yuna's brother Minho arrived the next morning with supplies. He was younger than Yuna by 4 years, with messy hair and grease-stained hands from working on machines all day. He stopped cold when he saw Rin sitting in the corner of the clinic. Who is that? He asked, his voice low and suspicious. A patient, Yuna said calmly. Her name is Rin. She's not human. No, she's not. Minho pulled Yuna aside, away from Rin's hearing. Sister, do you know what's happening up there? He pointed toward the sky. Strange ships have been flying over the settlement. Big ones. Military ones. Someone is looking for something on this planet. Yuna glanced back at Rin, who sat perfectly still, her silver eyes fixed on the floor. It's probably nothing, Yuna said. It's not nothing. Minho grabbed her arm. Whatever that woman is running from, it's dangerous. You should turn her over to the authorities before we all get killed. Yuna pulled her arm free. She's my patient, Minho. I don't turn away patients. Even if they bring death to our door? Even then. Minho stared at her, frustration burning in his eyes. But he knew his sister. Once she made a decision, nothing could change her mind. He shook his head and left without another word. That night, Rin approached Yuna as she prepared a simple meal. Your brother is right, Rin said quietly. I am dangerous. Rin said. Rin said, the people searching for me will not stop. They will burn this entire planet to find me if they must. Yuna continued stirring the soup. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. You should send me away. Save yourself and your people. Yuna turned to face her. Rin, I don't know who you really are. I don't know why people are hunting you. But I know you came to me hurt and scared, and I made a promise to help you. I don't break my promises. Rin's eyes widened. In all her long life, she had commanded armies. She had conquered worlds. She had made emperors kneel and kings beg for mercy. But this small human woman, with her simple clinic and her simple words, made her feel something she had not felt in centuries: shame and gratitude, and something warm that she could not name. I don't understand you, Rin whispered. Yuna smiled and handed her a bowl of soup. That's okay. You don't have to understand me. Just eat. You need your strength. Rin took the bowl. Her hands, which had torn through warships like paper, trembled slightly. Far away, across the cold darkness of space, General Tejo stood on the bridge of his flagship. His Empress was missing, possibly dead. And the traitors who had tried to kill her were still free. General, an officer called out. We've detected a faint signal. The emergency beacon from Her Majesty's shuttle. It's coming from a planet called Varus 7. Tejo's heart stopped. Varus 7? That's human territory. Yes, sir. A small frontier world, barely populated. Tejo turned to face the endless stars. His Empress, the most powerful being in the galaxy, was stranded on a backwater human planet. Alone. Injured. Vulnerable. Set course immediately, he commanded. Full speed. And send word to the entire fleet. Sir, should we inform the human government? Request permission to enter their space? Tejo's eyes hardened. We don't need permission. We need our Empress. Move. The massive warship turned, its engines roaring to life. Behind it, hundreds of other ships followed. A fleet so large, it blocked out the stars themselves. Back on Varus 7, Yuna and Rin sat together in the quiet clinic, sharing a simple meal. Neither of them knew what was coming. Neither of them knew that the entire galaxy was about to descend upon this small, forgotten world. But even if they had known, perhaps nothing would have changed. Because some bonds are formed not through power or fear, but through kindness. And those bonds are stronger than any fleet, any army, any empire. Rin looked at Yuna across the table, at this strange human who asked for nothing and gave everything. And for the first time in her long life, Empress Heron wondered if she had been wrong about everything. They came on the 7th day. 3 ships landed outside the settlement just as the sun was setting, their dark metal hulls gleaming with weapons. The settlers gathered in fearful groups, watching as armored figures stepped out into the dust. Bounty hunters. Yuna recognized the type immediately. She had seen them before on frontier worlds, cruel men who chased people for money and asked no questions about why. There were 12 of them. Their leader was a tall creature, with 4 arms and scales covering his face. He walked through the settlement like he owned it, grabbing people and throwing them aside when they didn't answer his questions fast enough. We're looking for someone, he announced, his voice echoing through the empty streets. A woman. Tall. Pale skin. Silver hair. She's worth more money than this entire planet. Anyone who helps us find her will be rewarded. Anyone who hides her will die. Yuna's heart pounded as she rushed back to the clinic. Rin was waiting inside, her expression calm, but her body tense. They're here for you, Yuna said, breathless. Yes. Rin stood slowly, her wounds now mostly healed. I should go. Face them. End this. Before anyone gets hurt. No. Yuna grabbed her arm. There's a hidden room beneath the clinic. My father built it years ago. For emergencies. They won't find you there. Yuna. These hunters will kill anyone who stands in their way. If they discover you've been hiding me, then they'll discover it. Yuna's eyes were steady, unafraid. I'm not giving you up, Rin. Not now. Not ever. Now come with me. She led Rin to a hidden door behind the supply shelves. Below was a small room, dark and dusty, barely large enough for one person. Rin hesitated at the entrance. Why? She asked again. That same question she had asked on the first night. Why risk everything for me? Yuna smiled softly. Because that's what friends do. She closed the door before Rin could respond, then quickly rearranged the shelves to hide any trace of the entrance. Minutes later, the clinic door burst open. 3 hunters stormed in, weapons raised. Their leader followed behind, his forearms crossed over his massive chest. You're the doctor, he said, looking at Yuna with cold eyes. The one who treats everyone. Surely you've seen our target. A wounded alien woman. Very distinctive. Yuna forced her voice to stay calm. I treat many patients. I don't ask questions about who they are or where they come from. The leader stepped closer, towering over her. Let me make this simple. Tell me where she is, and you live. Lie to me, and I'll burn this building down with you inside it. I don't know who you're looking for. The hunter's hand shot out and grabbed Yuna's throat, lifting her off the ground. She gasped for air, her feet kicking uselessly. Last chance, human, he growled. Where is she? Yuna couldn't breathe. Black spots danced in her vision. But she didn't speak. She would rather die than betray her friend. Then everything happened at once. The hidden door exploded outward, sending shelves and supplies flying across the room. Rin emerged like a storm, her silver eyes glowing with cold fire. Before anyone could react, she moved. Yuna had never seen anything like it. Rin was fast. Faster than light. Faster than thought. One moment she was across the room. The next, she was standing in front of the hunter holding Yuna, her hand wrapped around his wrist. She squeezed. The hunter screamed as his bones shattered like glass. He dropped Yuna and fell to his knees, clutching his ruined arm. The other hunters opened fire. But Rin was already moving. She flowed through their attacks like water, deflecting shots with her bare hands, moving between them like a ghost. In seconds, all 12 hunters lay on the ground, broken and bleeding but alive. Rin stood in the center of the destruction, breathing hard. Her eyes still glowed, and for a moment, she looked like something ancient and terrible, something that did not belong in this small clinic on this small world. Then she saw Yuna on the floor, rubbing her bruised throat, and the glow faded. The terrible power retreated, and Rin was just Rin again. Wounded, scared, alone. I'm sorry, Rin whispered. I'm sorry you had to see that. I'm sorry I brought this danger to you. I should leave. I should. Rin. Yuna's voice was hoarse but firm. Stop. She stood up slowly, walked to Rin, and took her hands. The same hands that had just destroyed 12 armed warriors. They were trembling. I don't care who you really are, Yuna said, looking into those silver eyes. I don't care what you can do or what you've done. You came to me hurt and scared, and I chose to help you. That hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. Rin stared at her. Tears gathered in her eyes, something she had not allowed herself in centuries. You should fear me, she whispered. Maybe, Yuna admitted. But I don't. I see a person who's been alone for too long. A person who's forgotten what it feels like to have someone care about them. And I'm telling you, Rin, I care. I don't know why, but I do. A single tear fell down Rin's cheek. She had ruled empires. She had crushed rebellions. She had been called the most powerful warrior in the galaxy. But this moment, standing in a ruined clinic on a forgotten planet, holding hands with a human who had every reason to run but chose to stay. This moment broke something inside her, something cold, something hard, something that had kept her heart frozen for 1,000 years. Thank you, Rin whispered. Thank you, Yuna. Yuna smiled and squeezed her hands. Now, help me tie up these idiots before they wake up. We've got a lot of cleaning to do. And somewhere in the darkness of space, General Tejo's fleet drew closer, carrying with it the full might of the Valoran Imperium. The hunters had failed, but the true storm was only beginning. The sky turned dark at noon. Not from clouds or storms, but from ships. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, filling the heavens like a second night. They were massive beyond imagination, each one larger than mountains, blocking out the sun itself. The settlers of Varus 7 fell to their knees in terror. They had heard stories of the Valoran Imperium, the greatest power in the known galaxy. An empire that stretched across 2,000 star systems. A civilization so old and powerful that humanity was nothing more than an insect beneath their feet. And now that empire had come to their small, forgotten world, Minho burst into the clinic, his face white with fear. Sister. Sister. Look outside. The Valoran Imperium. They're here. They've come for us. We're all going to die. Yuna walked to the window and looked up at the sky filled with warships. Beside her, Rin stood silent, her expression unreadable. Rin, Yuna said quietly. Is this for you? Rin closed her eyes. Yes. Are they enemies? Like the hunters? No. Rin opened her eyes, and there was something heavy in them. Something final. They are mine. Before Yuna could ask what that meant, a blinding light shot down from the largest ship. When it faded, a group of soldiers stood in the street outside the clinic. They wore armor that gleamed like silver stars, and they carried weapons that hummed with terrible power. At their head was a man with a stern face and proud bearing. General Tejo. He looked around the dusty settlement with barely hidden disgust, then turned his gaze toward the clinic. The signal comes from there, he said to his soldiers. Find Her Majesty. They marched toward the door. Minho backed away, trembling. Yuna stood her ground, placing herself between the soldiers and Rin. Wait, she said, holding up her hand. You can't just... The lead soldier pushed her aside like she weighed nothing. They poured into the clinic, weapons raised, searching every corner. Then they saw Rin, standing calmly in the center of the room. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, as one, every soldier dropped to their knees. They pressed their foreheads to the floor, their weapons set aside, their bodies trembling. General Tejo entered behind them and did the same. His proud head bowed low. Your Majesty, he said, his voice thick with emotion. We have searched the entire galaxy for you. The Imperium rejoices at your survival. Yuna stared. Minho stared. The whole room seemed to hold its breath. Rin stepped forward. But she was not Rin anymore. Something had changed in the way she stood, the way she moved, the way her eyes swept across the room. The gentle refugee was gone. In her place stood something else entirely. Something ancient. Something powerful. Something that made even the air feel heavy. Rise, General, she commanded, and her voice rang with authority that shook the walls. Tejo rose, his eyes never leaving her face. Your Majesty, the traitors who attempted your assassination have been identified. Your fleet awaits your command. The Imperium awaits your return. Yuna felt her legs go weak. She leaned against the wall, trying to understand what she was seeing. The woman she had bandaged, the woman she had fed, the woman she had scolded for not resting enough. That woman was the Empress of the Valoran Imperium, the ruler of 2,000 star systems, the galaxy's most powerful warrior? Rin, no. Empress Heron turned to look at her. For a moment, the terrible authority faded, and Yuna saw the woman she had come to know. The woman who had asked her why she helped. The woman who had cried when Yuna called her a friend. This woman saved my life, Heron announced, her voice carrying to every soldier in the room and beyond. transmitted to every ship in orbit. She found me wounded and dying. She treated my injuries without knowing who I was. She protected me from hunters at risk to her own life. She showed me kindness without expecting anything in return. The soldiers looked at Yuna with new eyes. This small, simple human had done what thousands of warriors could not. She had protected their Empress. She will be treated with the highest honors of the Valoran Imperium, Heron continued. Any who disrespect her will answer to me personally. Teho bowed deeply toward Yuna. On behalf of the Imperium, we thank you for your service to Her Majesty. Yuna didn't know what to say. Her throat was dry, her mind spinning. She looked at Heron, at the powerful Empress standing before her, in the ruined clothes Yuna had given her. I didn't do anything special, Yuna finally managed. I just did what anyone would do. Heron smiled. A real smile. Warm and soft and utterly human, despite her alien face. No, she said gently. You did what only a human would do. Your people see strangers and offer help. You see enemies and offer peace. You see the powerful and treat them like anyone else. She stepped closer, her silver eyes bright. In all my centuries of life, across all the worlds I have conquered and ruled, I have never met anyone like you. Minho fell to his knees beside the soldiers, overwhelmed. But Yuna remained standing. Even now, facing the most powerful being in the galaxy, she did not bow. Heron noticed, and she loved her for it. Come with me, Heron said, extending her hand. Come to my flagship. Let me show you what your kindness has protected. Let me thank you properly. Yuna looked at that offered hand. The hand of an empress. The hand of a warrior who could destroy worlds. But also, the hand of her friend. She took it, and as the light carried them up toward the waiting fleet, Yuna realized that her small life on this small world would never be the same. But looking at Heron's smile, she thought that maybe, just maybe, that was okay. Some changes, after all, are worth making. The Imperial flagship was larger than any city Yuna had ever seen. Its halls stretched endlessly, made of metal that gleamed like liquid silver. Thousands of servants and soldiers moved through its corridors, all of them stopping to bow when Empress Heron passed. Yuna walked beside her, feeling impossibly small. Every alien she passed was taller, stronger, older than she could imagine. They looked at her with curiosity, some with confusion, a few with barely hidden disgust. A human, walking beside their Empress. It must have seemed like madness to them, but Heron kept her close. She showed Yuna the gardens that grew impossible flowers under artificial suns. She showed her the libraries that held the knowledge of 1,000 civilizations. She showed her the throne room, where a seat of pure crystal waited for the ruler of the stars. This is what you saved, Heron said quietly, standing before the throne. Not just me. All of this. The Imperium was founded on my strength. Without me, it would fall into chaos and war. Billions would die. Worlds would burn. She turned to face Yuna. You did not just save a woman dying in the mud. You saved an empire. Yuna shook her head. I didn't know any of that. I just saw someone who needed help. And that, Heron said, is exactly why your kindness matters. It was pure. You expected nothing. You wanted nothing. In a universe ruled by power and greed, you simply saw someone in pain and chose to heal them. Her voice grew soft. Do you know how rare that is? How precious. She led Yuna to a private chamber, away from the servants and soldiers. Here, finally, they could speak as they had spoken in the clinic, not as empress and peasant, but as two women who had shared something true. I want you to understand what happened to me, Heron said, sitting down across from Yuna. The assassination attempt was not just poison and blades. It was betrayal. People I trusted. People I had known for centuries. They looked into my eyes and tried to kill me. her hands clenched in her lap. I have never felt so alone as I did that night. I fled through space in a damaged shuttle, not knowing if I would live or die. Not knowing if anyone in the entire galaxy still cared whether I existed. And then I crashed on your world. And you found me. Heron looked up, her silver eyes bright with unshed tears. You didn't ask who I was. You didn't care about power or reward. You just saw someone hurting and decided to help. Do you understand what that meant to me? After everything I had just lost, after every trust that had been broken, you gave me hope again. Yuna reached across and took Heron's hand. You don't have to thank me. I did what felt right. That's all. But I do have to thank you. Heron stood and walked to a cabinet against the wall. She opened it and removed a small box made of dark metal. Inside lay a pendant, simple but beautiful, shaped like a star with a crystal at its center. This is the pendant of promise, Heron explained. In my culture, it represents an oath that can never be broken. Only 5 people in history have ever received one from a ruling empress. You are the 6th. Res. She placed the pendant around Yuna's neck. The crystal glowed softly against her chest. If you ever need me, Heron said seriously, for anything, no matter how small, hold this pendant and speak my name. I will come. The galaxy's most powerful warrior will cross any distance, fight any enemy. Do anything you ask. This is my promise to you. Yuna. Now and forever. Yuna touched the pendant, feeling its warmth. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept it. Say you'll remember that you have a friend among the stars. Say that when you return to your small clinic on your small world, you'll know that you are not alone. I'll remember, Yuna promised. Heron smiled, and for a moment she looked young, despite her centuries of life, young and hopeful and happy. Before Yuna left, she asked for one thing. Not wealth, not power, not technology beyond imagination. She asked for medical supplies and protection for the settlers of Varus 7. Heron granted both without hesitation. Varus 7 was declared a protected world of the Imperium. Any who threatened it would face the full might of the fleet, and Yuna's clinic received equipment that could heal wounds in seconds, cure diseases that had plagued humanity for generations. When the light carried Yuna back to her clinic, she stood in the empty room and looked around. Everything was the same. The medical table, the supply shelves, still damaged from the hunter's attack, the window looking out over the dusty plains. But everything was different too. The next morning, Yuna opened her clinic as usual. Her first patient was a miner with a broken arm. She treated him with her new equipment, watching in wonder as the bone healed in minutes instead of months. Thank you, doctor, the miner said, amazed. Of course, Yuna replied. That's what I'm here for. She worked through the day, treating every patient who walked through her door. She didn't tell them about the Empress she had saved, or the fleet that had come for her, or the pendant that hung beneath her shirt. She simply did what she had always done. She helped people. Because some things don't change. Some things shouldn't change. And maybe that's why the universe needs humans. Not because they are strong, or powerful, or ancient, but because they are kind. Because they see strangers bleeding in the mud and choose to help. Because they believe, deep in their hearts, that compassion matters more than power. Far away, in the center of the galaxy, Empress Heron sat upon her crystal throne. The traitors had been captured. Her empire was secure. But her mind was not on politics or war. It was on a small clinic on a small world, where a human woman was probably bandaging a wound, or comforting a child, or doing something equally simple and extraordinary. She touched her chest, where a matching pendant lay hidden beneath her imperial robes. One of them taught me that true strength is not in conquest, she murmured to herself. It is in compassion. and in the silence of the throne room, surrounded by the power of an empire, the galaxy's most powerful warrior smiled, because for the first time in 1,000 years, she didn't feel alone.